What's up, guys? Thanks for coming. Again, thanks to Evan for doing this last minute. We'd been wanting him to do this interview. Well, I've been wanting him to do this interview for a while and judge for us. Um, and luckily, he was free today to do this awesome interview with us. So,
Well. Don't sell, everything too quickly. For all we know, this might end up as a tremendous fucking tragedy.
no,
But we will try and make it entertainment.
It's fine, dude. It'll be fun. Um, so, um, what was I going to say? Well, we were just talking about the Picasso talk that we were going to have.
Oh, we're diving straight in the deep end, huh?
I don't know. No, we're not going to start there yet. We'll start.
Okay.
We'll start with that later. But
we'll warm up to it.
we'll warm up to it. But thanks again, man. As I was just telling Evan, I've kind of heard about. I mean, everybody knows who Evan is, but before everybody knew who Evan was, I was friends with Chris Bjors, and then later with Espen. So Evan was kind of like the guy I never got a chance to talk to, and I was close friends with both his close friends, and then now we finally get the chance to talk, and we've kind of talked a little bit here and there, but this is kind of like the first official talk that we have, so it's kind of cool that we're doing this live, and we get to shoot the shit, as they say. So thanks again, man. Thanks for doing this, and I guess we'll line you up for who's coming up. It's Wilkins doing this one, and I think Leisha's next, and Suzanne Halme. And then probably we'll line you up after that if you're. We'll talk about that later when you'll judge for the Ascension. So thanks again, man, and thanks everybody for coming. Welcome. This is kind of like a formal talk. Nothing serious. Nothing crazy. It's just two guys, one cup type of thing.
Yeah, so, as we said, like an artistic dick swinging competition.
Yep. Especially with the Picasso talk, we'll bring that up here in a second.
Oh, that's gonna be good.
Yeah, it's gonna get hostile in here. No, not really. But so thanks again, man. We'll start off with a typical. Since I don't know too much. I know I've talked to Espen a lot and Chris a lot, but I don't know too much about your upbringing. So if you could just walk us through that. What was your childhood like? Who were your influences? How were your parents with art? Like, how did that whole thing go down for you as a kid?
Well, as a child of Norway, there's a lot of ice bear wrestling and shit like that. But I had a really a superbly good childhood, actually. My parents are both engineers, very nice people, and my sister is an engineer, and my brother-in-law. So when I was like, I'm going to be an artist, that was a bit of you sure you don't want to take some math classes just to when that shit fails, you might want to have something to fall back on. But they've always been very supportive. And, like in Norway, you can take specialization when you're 16 or 15. So I went into the arts, which is where I met my best friend. And we were both sort of harangued by the teachers, because the teachers were all like, if you don't get into abstract art, there's not going to be any position for it, there's not going to be a way for you to go into doing art professionally. And we were both like, oh, fuck you. So I ended up doing concept art and illustration, and my best friend is a tattoo artist, so we've kind of proven them wrong.
Nice.
Yeah, and then in Norway, there's not a lot of great art academies. There's some in Sweden, and in Denmark, I think. But so I went to this liberal arts school in Norway for a couple of years. But it's essentially an excuse for being an autodidact. You don't really get a lot of tutoring. You just essentially get time to learn. So that's what I did for a couple of years. Then I went to England to hopefully get a bachelor's degree in illustration. But after a year, I figured out that was expensive as hell, and I wasn't really learning anything, so I quit that. And and it's kind of shameful that I don't remember who gave me the tip-off, but I know that there was someone who I'd met through the conceptual.org forums. And it was one of those, I know a bunch of people from there, and it was through one of those who just tipped me off that there was the studio in Quebec, of all places. We're looking for people, so I sort of grabbed onto that, and used the entire summer doing their art test, and they sort of went like, fuck it, we'll take you on. And so little Evan went out into the world and tried his hand at being a concept artist. And I stayed there for 3 years.
Nice.
And then I got out of there because, it's with a lot of outsourcing studios that, you have your honeymoon period, and then at some point you start realizing that you want out. So I went to Prague and was swiftly joined by the young and slightly dangerous Mr. Bjors, who we got up to a lot of shenanigans. And then Blizzard came a-calling and asked if I wanted to go to California to work for them. And in hindsight, and you know what they say, hindsight's mindsight, but I probably should have given that a little more thought. But it is Blizzard, and it was a big part of my childhood. So because I did play I played the hell out of Warcraft 3. I never got into World of Warcraft and shit like that, but I loved Warcraft 3. So I was very, very starstruck by it. So I did go there for 6 months, and then I realized fairly quickly that Blizzard is not for me. So now I am back in Europe, in Copenhagen, and back to freelancing. And I'm sharing a studio space with a guy called Jesper Asing, who some of you probably know, and some of you may not know, but he's an amazing artist.
Nice. I thought you were staying with Espen. I'm being nosy.
Yeah, Espen and I are sharing a tiny little apartment in northeast Copenhagen.
Okay, yeah, that's my girl. Cool, man. That's awesome. So, this whole time, was there a time period where you hit full throttle on the art, or was it always full throttle, or how did that go? Was there a time that you're okay, I have to get fully serious with this art thing?
That's actually a good question. I know the first time I realized that I really had to do work, that I had to start being, that I had to start enjoying the process of learning, and the fact that the curiosity in upon itself was a reason to try and learn things. And that was when I got to know my now best friend, because he was better. He was the first person I met who was my age group, and who was just simply better than me at drawing, and that I could not fucking accept. So then I started, I saw him. He could because he could draw manga at the time, and that was amazing, to me, because I didn't know manga at the time. And I saw him sort of doing exercise, and I was like, what? Drawing is it's a thing you can learn, math? What the hell? And then I found Loomis, which to this day I think still is the best tool for learning to draw. And the fact that all his books are free online, I'm a tremendously repetitive fanboy of Loomis. Whenever people are how do you learn anatomy? I'm like, Loomis, motherfucker. Get your hands on fun with a pencil. You are gonna learn so much.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah, no, it's simply the best. But wow, I've ranted on. I'm just trying to. Yeah, okay. So that's where it started.
That's where I was going next, actually, which was after you kind of figured out there's a way to get better and keep improving. Who were besides Loomis? Who were your first inspirations, going from the early days?
Okay, so before I realized that there was, because before that it was just that thing of oh my god, these artists are magical. And then the moment that spell was kind of broken, and I realized that it was a learning discipline. The guys who had been my huge inspiration were the core artists for Warhammer. A lot of them, Adrian Smith and Paul Bonner and Paul Dainton and Karl Kopinski. Those guys were magical to me. And started finding DeviantArt, but first of all it was the conceptart.org and stuff like that. There were a lot of guys Wispert and Mark and Georgievic are of course
monsters.
still amazing. But I think the guy who there were two guys who just really just clinched it for me, who made me just gave me raging hard-ons every time I saw something that they put on. And that was the guy, I still don't actually know his name, but the guy who's RoboGabo online. I think he was one of the guys who had an exclusive sketchbook on conceptart.org, and he would post every day for years. He was amazing, and he still is.
I have to look him up.
Wonderful Tumblr. Yeah, just search for like straightforward Robo Gabo. It's amazing. Him and Daniel Chavez. Daniel Chavez still to this day is one of those minds that I'm so glad it exists because it has a way of looking at the world that is not mine, and but I'm so glad that someone has it so that we can have that view as well. You know?
Nice. Yeah. Daniel Chavez is he's pretty amazing, man.
Yeah. And afterwards, you know, you meet other people who do the same thing but in different ways. Like Ruan Gia is one of those people who just like I got to work with him a little bit when I was at Volta, and he's also one of those guys who just take his way of making a rendering of the world or any world really is amazing, and it's kind of incongruent with what I do myself, but it's still just such a cool way of seeing the world through another person's lens, and you can learn from that. So yeah, there are plenty of those guys. I'm doing a disservice to everyone I'm not mentioning, but there are a shit ton of them.
So Rungia would be more of a more recent inspiration, you'd say, than an older inspiration, right? Because he's fairly...
Yeah, I mean, all things are relative, but
Yeah.
I've been aware of his work for like the last 6 years.
Really? Wow. Yeah, I didn't even know about him till like last year, and I was like, holy shit, he's amazing.
Yeah. And it's that thing of like, how has this person existed without my knowing of it? I've been duped.
Yep. He's so amazing with color, man. But oh, that's good stuff, dude. So now I guess we'll talk about, since we're talking about inspirations and stuff like that, I'll bring up the Picasso talk that we were.
Oh yeah, okay.
So, what was it like? About a week ago, I posted this thing about Picasso, and Evan was pretty serious. He wrote me, he's like, "Hey man, let's have a talk about this."
It's that thing of, you know, like whenever you post stuff like that on Facebook and people want to, you know, it does have an ugly tendency to sort of devolve into a flame war of one kind of or the other, and I wasn't that keen on getting into that sort of thing, but I do love having that argument because I think Picasso is a very interesting artist, and I will say that I'm not a huge fan of like the purely visual of a lot of the stuff he does is not that interesting. However, it is really fucking cool, and let me explain. Like, let's take the example of his painting Guernica. Do you know which painting that is?
Yeah, the war one. Yeah.
Yeah. So Guernica is really interesting because that is a city that Picasso knew personally. He knew that city, and he loved it. And when the Germans bombed it during the Spanish Civil War, and he came and saw the ruins, he had or at least this is what he wrote about it, that he essentially had the experience of seeing something that he knew intimately that he could not understand. He couldn't understand that this was the city of Guernica. And so that's what that picture is trying to be. It's trying to instill in you, the viewer, the same sense of what the actual fuck that he had.
Nice. Wow, that's...
So he is, in all senses of that, the original term concept or conceptual artist. He's that. He's not necessarily trying to make something that's purely visually interesting, but he is trying to create art that purports an idea more than just a visual expression.
I like that.
And I think that's kind of the interesting bit about him, because he was finished and educated as a classical master painter by the time he was like 16, if I remember correctly. And after that, you know, like he could have done what Waterhouse did, or what a lot of like the classical masters did, and just gone on and made fantastic paintings and based it on classical literature or this, that, or the other. Or because he was in a period where rethinking the nature of art was all the rage, that's what he wanted to do. And you can, you know, like Impressionism had just come about. There was this whole idea of, you know, because Impressionism, an impressionist, like the term impressionist was a curse word. Like it was used as a derogatory term for the artists because they weren't making paintings, they were making mere impressions, you know. And so he wanted to. The whole point of Cubism is to take that sort of naivistic view of an observation and turning it on its head and saying, okay, so what if we overanalyze everything we see? What if we try and see it from every possible interesting angle and try and paint all of them at the same time? What do we get? And again, I will admit, I'm not a huge fan of the visual expression. Like, I don't think it's that interesting, but I love the idea.
The idea,
and
yeah.
And most of the interesting bits of cubism is usually not what we get to see because they're not the most shocking ones. But there are those that are really, really just aesthetically beautiful. And like anyone who gets the chance, if you have the chance to go and see a Picasso exhibit, like take the time, go and see it, and but more importantly, go and read it, because I know. Like, I do make the point when I have the argument about conceptual art to a lot of people that I'm really annoyed that it usually takes more time to read the artwork than it takes to watch it.
Yeah.
But in the case of Picasso, it's interesting because he was not just a brilliant thinker, but he was a great writer. And so he could he could come up with ideas that were worthwhile. It's kind of like with Salvador Dali as well. Read what he wrote about the stuff that he made, because it's thoroughly worthwhile reading, and it is such interesting thinking that it's worth the time and the artwork.
Nice. That's interesting, dude. And yeah, I figured, I like playing devil's advocate, and I'm not a big fan of his, but I do like Warhol a lot. Amazingly, I never thought I'd say that, but kind of looking into it, I kind of like the same thing, the idea of his, which was to make icons out of things, and yeah, there's some merit to that, but I guess I'm more of a like, you got to be a great painter and you got to be able to, and it's that mentality, and I think it's changing over time. And as much of an argument I had with people, I gotta say, there is some stuff that I'll say that has merit and stuff, and it's true. I like that idea. So yeah, man, good stuff. We'll probably talk about this more later, if you're down for it. But yeah, so good stuff. So schedules, man. I'm looking at all your sketches, and I think you're doing a sketch a day. I think.
Yeah, I'm actually sitting here and being all pompous about Picasso and drawing my daily sketch at the same time. So
nice.
Highly productive.
Highly productive, yeah, man. So what's your schedule like? Like, what's a day in your life?
Oh, that depends a lot on the day before, but I try and get up somewhere around 7, 8, and I do usually about an hour of reading while I make breakfast and stuff. I find the more that I get into just continuously having a book at hand and reading new books and getting through new narratives, like you get so many cool ideas for drawings and paintings and stuff, which is it really helps on the whole, like avoiding like an artistic drought, especially when you're trying to do a sketch a day.
Is there anything specific you read, or just random stuff? Or
oh well, I did this thing like for Christmas when my parents asked me what I wanted. I asked them to send me like a selection of the books that they wished they had read earlier in life, and they sent me all these like magnificent books. And right now, for example, I'm reading this one by Rohinton Mystery, which I don't know the English name for it because I have the Norwegian translation, but it's I can see if we can find it. But it's a very, very, very interesting book about like the years after the liberation of India from the English or from the British Empire, and how like the whole breaking of the caste system, and it's sort of like it's viewing this whole social turnaround through the lens of 4 characters, and then spinning it off into characters who are related to those characters, and it's just it's a really complex narrative, but it's so good. So you sit there just in awe of this person's ability to tell a story.
Nice.
Which I think is cool.
That's interesting. So you read more deeper stuff. It's kind of weird. I figured you'd read like some fantasy stuff because you're always drawing fantasy. So it's kind of cool how some artists can be deeper, and it's interesting, dude, to kind of get in your brain a little bit. So that's interesting. So after you read, you said for about an hour, you make breakfast, you flirt around with Espen. What?
Oh yeah, we tend to our little man love. Then I get on my bike and I bike down to the studio, which is in like central Copenhagen.
Mm-hmm.
And sit around there and essentially making fart jokes and drawing drawings. So we've been doing a lot of dragons lately with Jesper for about 9 hours a day. Uh, then I usually do my daily drawing. And then I get on my bike again. I come back here, and I find a way to waste the last couple of hours of my day, and then it's time for bed.
Nice.
It's been. I mean, I've only been here for a month, so it's been a very hectic one because I've had to get all the paperwork in order and all that stuff. So that's been my day-to-day routine for the last month or so.
Nice. So, how strict are you with sleeping times? Because I know a lot of artists always have that question, like staying up, etc. How important is sleeping for you? Because people die.
It depends because I'm like I will never if I know that I'm sleepy, if I can feel that I'm getting tired, I will stop drawing. Basically because I know that the mistakes I make I won't notice until later, and that I will be more disheartened by the fact that I've been wasting time making mistakes. But sometimes I'm weak. Sometimes I either like last week, for example, or for like the last couple of weeks, I've been watching the TV series The Americans, which is just so good. It's almost ridiculous how good that series is. And so there have been a couple of nights where I've been sitting up a little too late just because I need one more episode. But that happens. But I'm usually pretty good at getting to bed between midnight and 1 sometimes.
So you're not that much of an early bird. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of a question that always pops up, like I can't sleep and stuff like that. So these are just like little questions I ask here and there. I think they're important. To a lot
it's
of people,
never a question of can't sleep. I hesitate to brag, but I am fantastic at falling asleep.
You're a professional.
There are. Yeah, I could be a national goddamn treasure. There are many and pretty hilarious stories about where and when I have fallen asleep in my life.
Nice.
And it's like in kindergarten would fall asleep on swings and stuff like that. Still can do that. Like buses are my weak point at the moment. Like if I get on a bus, I am done. So yeah, it's never a question of like I can't fall asleep, but it's more a question of like tearing myself away from what I'm doing at the moment and actually going to sleep.
Yeah, it's my big problem, dude. I think I have sleeping problems. That's probably why I always ask the judges. Like I always ask people, and you're like, "Do you have trouble sleeping?" But yeah. So okay, now we're kind of like now asking the questions like current day. So I think Kotaku shared some of your stuff. I think it was Kotaku. Somebody shared your stuff, and it's like everywhere. I think it was was it Lord of the Rings or I can't remember.
Oh, it was the Harry Potter.
The Harry Potter, yeah, that's what it was. So, do you have any plans on doing your own stuff, like your own IP on things? I think, I mean, definitely with your ideas, you'd come up with something awesome. Is there any plans for a book or anything like that?
I'm doing the daily sketches thing. I'm hoping to be able to spin off into a book after I'm gonna try and do like a sketch a day for a year. Essentially, it's been really fun to see people. Like there are some people who've been really liking it, and it's kind of cool to try and sort of build a following around that and see if there are people who are interested enough, and then try and make a book out of it, and perhaps like spin it off into a Patreon or something, and see if I can continue to develop that universe and maybe like create a more cohesive and interesting story, maybe around like some great adventure or something. So yeah, that's kind of the hope for that IP, but you never know if it'll pan out, but that would be an interesting challenge at least.
Nice. That's a good idea. So that's interesting. You guys heard it here, guys. Make sure you support and check out Evan's sketches, man. They're phenomenal, just amazing stuff. So yeah, good stuff, dude. So where were we? Workflows. We'll start with workflows. That's a usual question that we get for like judges. So like starting out, what was your workflow now? I mean, back then compared to now, does it matter? Is there a thing you would suggest somebody starting out to do to make it easier for them?
I think the way I see it, or the way I've observed it anyway, is that we do, as artists, tend to come either from drawing or painting. Some people come from, of course, from sculpting, but it seems to me that, like for me, I come from drawing more than painting, so I still have, like I still usually draw my paintings out first, and then go into other things. But I think the easiest thing is to learn the basics. Always focus on the basics. Basics. If you don't do the basics right, then nothing else is gonna work. So if you want to base your art around color, then make sure that you are fucking kick ass at the basics of color theory first. That's what's important. After that, you can do whatever you like, but make sure you have mastered the basics. That's where all the impressive stuff comes out of. And so for workflow, like I tend to start with line drawings because that's how I know to make sense of a three-dimensional space. For a couple of the latest sketches, I've been trying to start with painting, which has been very interesting, but it's not really, I don't think it really works as a sketching medium for me yet because I'm not fluent enough in it, so I'm having a hard time sort of seeing how I can get my ideas down effectively. But yeah, that's a practice thing. I think finding your medium, finding
what works for you.
Like a vehicle that you like, and that really comes down to your subjective taste, and then build a workflow off of that. Like I know I have pretty much stolen my or lent half of my workflow from Mike Azevedo, for example, and the way he approaches color, like his video on color theory is my go-to these days. Like it's still one of the absolute best ways I've ever seen to make sense of color theory. So I think that's like it's a really good way of doing it, but it's not exactly what I do myself. But it definitely helps just to wrap your mind around something as complex as color theory. And it is very freeing to hear someone like him say something as basic as Photoshop is a terrible trap because it opens all the doors for you. Like that's the biggest problem with Photoshop is that you can literally do anything, and so it's hard to know how to limit yourself from doing everything.
Nice. That's interesting. I gotta check that video out now. Now I'm interested. Somebody was asking about like what are good ways to practice color theory. Somebody asked who is color theory. So somebody was asking what are some good ways to practice color theory in your opinion?
Well, a very good way about practicing color theory. That's a little bit like practicing line theory. That's not real good, but practicing color knowledge and color intuition. A really good way of doing that is color studies. But as it goes with any kind of study, and this is important because a lot of people do make a very basic mistake when it comes to studies, that they're not studying, they're copying, and that's not the same thing. Mm-hmm. When you're studying, you need to be good at asking questions, and you need to ask the right questions. So let's say that you're going to study colors, and you want to study like the color use in different movies, for example, which is a very popular and very good way of going about it. So you find like a movie that you like. Let's say like a lot of the later James Bond movies, for example, have really good color use, like Skyfall, for example. I think that's the name of it. It's a pretty good color usage, and it's a very nice limited palette, and it's got good variation. So, so you go and you find some screen caps that you want to do studies of. Some people will then go and do direct copies of what they see without doing any mental work whatsoever, and so you're not really studying. What you need to do is to ask yourself the question, like, okay, so what is the mood here, and can I learn the mood? Can I understand it, or how do they achieve this result or that result, and how can I achieve that in painting? And then you go and you make an assertion, like, okay, if I use this person combined with this technique, then I might be able to do it. And then you try it, and then you figure out, okay, did it work? Did it not work? If it didn't work, then figure out why it didn't work and how you might be able to. Like it's a process. It's not just making a pretty copy of something.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I learned a lot more staying loose and doing that, asking the whys, rather than when I do just straight up mimicking of stuff. And yeah, definitely, man. And I think also what I think helped for me was doing a piece right after that, maybe even a quick sketch immediately after that, trying to get that same feel and light like you were saying. I think that worked a lot for me. I think it's helped me a lot. So that's just my input on that.
And that's a very good point, actually, because it is a brilliant way of staying curious. Because then when you've asked the question of how do I make this stuff, and then automatically, because you're trying to apply it into a sketch, then you are literally asking the question, how do I apply this into a sketch? Which is literally that's basically why you're doing the study in the first place. So that's a very, very good piece of advice, was all I'm trying to get to.
Nice. So that's color theory, guys. That's what we were talking about.
Actually, that's not just for color theory. That goes for fucking everything.
For everything, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Let's see. Question: how do you manage your online presence? What websites do you? That's kind of a. I mean, well, I don't know if you want to answer that. How do you manage your online presence?
I use the philosophy of the shotgun. A little bit of everything. Like I post my. Well, okay, so I'm fairly lazy about it. I try and just do what's simple. So I post everything I do to Facebook, because that's usually where I've been posting. And then once a week I try and I do post my sketches to ArtStation, and I have a Tumblr that I don't know whether or not has any effect of posting to, but I've just gotten to the habit of doing it. And that too I do on a weekly basis.
Nice.
I think that's nice. Yeah, I tried to get back into posting on DeviantArt, but it's, first of all, they need to overhaul the way you upload stuff, because it's just too many mouse clicks, and I just get annoyed at doing it. But also at this point, I think the point of online presence, and I'm getting to the point where I'm kind of annoyed with myself, because I've been avoiding using the hashtag thing, just because I've been seeing people using it on Facebook. I'm like, just don't. It's really annoying to just see this shit pop up because you used 40,000 hashtags. But then I realized that it's kind of hypocritical, because by the same logic, I shouldn't be posting to anything else than, say, Facebook. So I guess I'm fine with hashtags. The point is to try and get your stuff out to people who want to see it. Yeah. So, try and be approachable without being annoying.
Yeah.
I think that's the philosophy to go for.
Approachable without being annoying is the answer. That was a question by Flip Casper. So
there you go, Flip.
Thanks for the question.
That's a fantastic name, by the way.
And another question from David. No, we already answered that one. Leo Grimm was asking, who's your favorite master painter? Not talking about
that Picasso. Very much depends on how you define a master painter.
Let's talk real painters, I just said that, like Da Vinci, Rembrandt.
Oh, right. Okay, so I'm probably gonna piss some people off, but I'm not a huge fan of the old masters.
Oh.
Well, and when we say the old masters, we mean Rembrandt and Picasso and all these guys. No, not Picasso, clearly, but Da Vinci and Rembrandt and all these guys. And it's not that I don't like what they did. It's just that they were the masters of a set craft. They were more craftsmen than artists. And why, by all means, exalt the craftsman. The craftsman is, fantastic. But Da Vinci was an artistic engineer more than he was an artist.
Yeah.
And I would say the same for Michelangelo. If you take a critical eye to the Sistine Chapel, while it is a technical masterpiece, every fucking dude that he ever painted was an Adonis. They're all super hunky. And when the moment you learn Hogarthian anatomy, it's not that difficult to paint that shit. So it's so hard to say, who's my favorite master painter. I would say the person whose work, let's limit it to people who do physical painting, as opposed to digital painting.
Yeah.
I really want to say Paul Bonner, just because his work, it speaks to me on a very, very personal level, and it makes me so happy to look at. And it sort of feeds off of all that old knowledge. Yeah, I suppose.
Nice.
Or Ashley Wood. Ashley Wood is a great example of a person who does physical painting and who can do so many things. And I think he's more of an artist than he is anything else. More an artist than a craftsman, because he, again, if you look at the stuff he does when he takes the time to do stuff that's realistic, it can be super polished. But then he just throws all that aside and does, the tank girl and the pop-pot stuff, which is super rough, but it carries across the knowledge that he has, and you can see it, and it's interesting.
Nice. Nice, good stuff. Ashley Wood, yeah, I like Ashley Wood a lot. He's so okay. That was for Leo, and let's see.
Sorry, Leo. Hope I didn't piss you off.
What do you think of Rembrandt, man? Rembrandt's, I think, my current crush. He's my art crush right now.
So Rembrandt is interesting, but Rembrandt. So Rembrandt. There's a reason why we have something called like the Rembrandt angle, right? It's like the 45-degree sideways thing.
Yeah.
Because again, he figured out a few shorthands for doing something magnificent, but it does make it kind of boring when he could just repeat that shit ad infinitum and always achieve a good result. So it makes him a very, very good craftsman, but kind of a boring artist. Though I will say, I do believe, and I cannot find this painting, so I'm not sure if it's Rembrandt, but I do believe that I remember a art history thing where they were essentially arguing that Rembrandt was the first impressionist because he made this like painting which was called Sailor in 7 strokes or something, or 12 strokes, where he was essentially just lathering his or loading his palette knife and just doing this super impromptu portrait of a dude in like 3 very premeditated strokes, 7 premeditated brush strokes, and it's awesome. And it has that same thing of Rembrandt's, where if you view it from like more than 3 meters away, it looks like a goddamn photograph. But you view it closer, and you can see, you know, all the paint, all the strokes, like a Goya painting or like El Greco. It's really, really cool.
Good stuff, dude. Yeah, I guess that's a good way. I never thought about that, like how. I've been looking at a lot of his stuff, and I'm like, there's a lot of, you know, the 3/4 shots and stuff like that. But I never thought of it like that, you know, like as it being repetitive. I think my brain told me, but I never really analyzed it like that. So that's why it's interesting to talk to to guys like you and Espen, man, like, because I get so much fucking knowledge from you guys, and it's interesting, dude. So thanks for that, as always. I always tell Espen that. I'm like, dude, like, you guys, the way you guys think is kind of it's kind of different, and that's awesome, dude.
This is what happens when your art history teacher was a dude who showed up the first day with when he walked into class and said, "Well, I'm on acid," and we started there. It was kind of interesting. He also was our life drawing teacher, and he brought wine the first life drawing session because he figured the Greek way was always the best way. So we should all be slightly drunk before we started painting.
That's awesome.
Which worked out really well. Like, people were very into it. Art students and free wine, that shit works out, dude.
That's awesome. And that's why you have places like Six More Vodka. I'm kidding.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's slightly rougher, but I'm sure the live drawing sessions there are very interesting.
Good stuff, dude. So that was that question. Who asked that? Okay, well, thanks for the question. Next question by David. It says, what made you go back to freelance, having worked at Blizzard, working at a company versus working on your own? The city, the job, what was it?
Okay, so no bad word against Blizzard for being Blizzard. Like, it's a huge company. It's going to have some politics and some stuff. But essentially, when I'd been there for a little while, I started noticing that it was similar to the previous job that I'd quit, in the ways that made me quit that previous job. So that's what made me start doubting whether or not I wanted to be there. And then Blizzard is situated in this place outside of LA called Irvine, which is pretty much the epitome of everything that I dislike about the city, like, or the kind of city that I thoroughly dislike. It is, as I've tried to explain it a couple of different ways to people. I think the best way is just to say it's what happens if you let like Starbucks build a city. A friend of mine summed it up really well by calling Irvine the bleached asshole of California. Like, it's meticulously clean but full of shit. Which is it does conjure up a fairly useful image. And I just it became this thing of, I had been a year in Prague and I had really loved that year. And I found myself being in a place where I had a job that I, quite enjoyed, but it wasn't better than freelancing, and freelancing had lent me the possibility of something I really love doing, which is traveling. And I just realized that I probably, I've gotten the experience now that I didn't actually want to be there. So, that's what you can take away from a situation like that. But yeah, no, it wasn't like, I do realize that this is kind of a pussyfooting answer, but yeah, you figure out whether or not a place like that is for you. And for me, the answer was definitely no.
Nice.
It was too big. It was like both LA and Blizzard. It's too big for me. I prefer something smaller.
So you're more of a quiet place. Yeah, it's kind of like me. I think I was telling Chris about this. Like when I retire, I want to like move out to the middle of nowhere and just be by myself type of thing. I don't know if that's how you are. I'm not a big city person. Like it's just not me. I don't feel. I don't know. Maybe it's the not feeling comfortable around people anymore. It's just kind of staying to my own type of thing. So I don't know if you feel the same way.
I don't think I'm quite there yet, but I think it's more that I prefer a city that's human-sized. Like LA, first of all, LA is not one city. LA is like 6 or 7 cities grown into one behemoth of something. So like saying that something is in LA literally means nothing because you still have no idea where the hell it is. But it's more like I'm in Copenhagen now, which is still a fairly, for Europe anyway, it's a fairly large city, but it's much more to my liking in terms of size. I can deal with the size of a city.
Nice.
Good
stuff. That was I skipped a few questions, so I'll go back. Sorry, guys. From Henry, he's asking if you're thinking about doing a mentorship at some point, and have you ever done one?
Oh, I've actually been asked this a couple of times now. Because I've been asked it a couple of times, I am kind of considering doing that maybe next year. I don't know how to go about that, so I have to sort of look into it, but it would be interesting. I did kind of a mentorship when I was at Volta, where we would like be intermittent teachers at this local art school, which was kind of cool. It was way before I had any business teaching anyone anything, so that was kind of the scary bit. But yeah, like I'm open for the idea of doing it. It would have to be at a time where I've actually have the time and the money to set aside, because I do find that I'm hesitant about charging people for such an uncertain product as whatever knowledge I can give them. So I would have to like try it, I guess. So the first round of it would probably have to be at some sort of discount, just to make sure that I don't feel like a piece of shit for taking people's money for not necessarily giving them the knowledge they deserve.
That's humble of you. I think people would learn a lot from you, man. But that was from Henry. Thanks for the question, man. Let's see, from Crooks. I don't know. I'm sorry, dude. He's asking, was there any key information you gleaned from Loomis that was instrumental in your growth as an artist?
Yeah, kind of that thing that I talked about earlier. The fact that the knowledge and understanding of anatomy and perspective, it's just something. It's a quantifiable amount. It's something you can break down into chunks of knowledge that you can learn, and it can make sense. It can be. You can take something if you can take something as complex as anatomy and break it down into understandable chunks, and then just make it into a study course for yourself, then you can literally learn anything. So I think that's the major thing I got from Loomis: the technique by which you can break stuff down into understandable amounts.
And those books are free, guys, so you guys know. Like just Google Loomis PDF, and like they pop up everywhere. So just so you guys know. And Tio Cruz, I'm sorry, you guys need to come up with easier names, man. we'll call you Tio.
Go back in time and instruct your parents.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, man. No, I'm kidding. He or she is asking if you're going to THU.
I am. I got my ticket early, actually. So yeah, I'm going. It's gonna be good.
Nice.
I was there last year. It was a goddamn blast.
Was that the one? Was that the one that you were with Espen?
Yeah, that was actually the first time we met. So yeah, that's the one in Portugal. And I'm also going to the TAGU, which is going to be in Zagreb in the ending of May. I'm going to there's a workshop in St. Petersburg at the beginning of May called Artillery, I think, which I'm going to, and then there's a couple of others. So nice. It's going to be a travel-heavy year.
Nice. Let's see. Another question. I think we already talked about Loomis. Loomis enough. Let's see.
You never talk enough about Loomis, man.
Never ever.
Never ever.
Do you have any? Okay. From Isilor, do you have any plans on doing some videos of your drawings, like I guess Gumroad and stuff? I would love to see you. I would love to see the rough sketch process of your line art.
Yeah. I mean, I have considered it. It's just like at the moment it's been kind of hectic this last month. But when things start settling down and I get into like the run of freelancing again, then I might get some more free time on my hands, and then who knows? Maybe I'll put aside the time and make a Gumroad. But again, it's the same problem with the Gumroad as it is with the question of like mentorships. I'm very hesitant about like the idea of charging people for knowledge that I don't know that I can impart. You know.
You guys are too humble, man. No, that's what I love about when I tell Espen all the time. It's great to be humble like that, and I love surrounding myself with people like you and Espen. That's like a big thing about me. Like who I hang out with or talk to is like the humble and niceness of people, and just from this talk alone, like I'm seeing that you're super humble, you know, and I love that, man. So that's really cool to know, you know, because there's some people out there that are, you know, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. There's people out there that are kind of full of themselves, and it's kind of a bad vibe thing. But I love talking to people like you and Espen, like I was saying. So it's good to know you're one of the good guys, man.
I do my best.
So let's see. I am Conver asked. Well, we're gonna stop taking. We're probably gonna ask like 2 more questions and then start wrapping it up. If you gotta go, let's see. You mentioned Paul Bonner being one of the artists who inspired you. Since you are in Denmark, have you had the chance to meet him? Or see
I have actually. I did go to meet him before I went to Blizzard, and it's one of those. Like I tried to limit my hero worship, but god damn it, getting to go and talk to him and having a mutual loathing for the Hobbit movies, that was a godsend.
Nice.
So yeah, like he is definitely, if you're gonna have a hero, make sure it's a worthwhile one, and but you can step away from Paul. He's mine.
Nice.
He's awesome. So yeah, I have had that pleasure.
That's cool, man. From Cassie, you mentioned reading. You mentioned reading to give you inspiration for your daily paintings. What are some books you read, and which ones have been your favorites for getting ideas?
Ooh, that's a good question. So the one I'm reading now is incredibly good. I don't know the English name, which is really annoying, but it's by Rohinton Mystery, I think his name is. Rohinton Mystery. So if you can find that, he writes very well. I've read some of the older stuff of George R.R. Martin before he wrote Game of Thrones, or Song of Ice and Fire, which is ridiculously good writing as well. I've been reading through the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett, which is amazing. It's like the fantasy version of Douglas Adams. Who, if you have not read Douglas Adams, you've not lived. You need to get on that shit. And I think it's a sort of a neglected classic now, but P.G. Woodhouse's Jeeves series, or Jeeves and Wooster, too, is an amazingly funny series of books. So that gives me a lot of inspiration. Especially, I mean, if you want to read fantasy, and especially if you want to write fantasy, you gotta read Terry Pratchett, because he's one of the only fantasy writers who doesn't take fantasy seriously at all, and it's such an important angle just to see all the ridiculous sort of classical notions that we have in fantasy writing, and just taking them for like breaking the holiness of a lot of the tropes that are built out of Tolkien, for example, or pre-Tolkien even. I think it's really interesting reading. So yeah, I'd say that's a good start.
Nice.
And after that, you probably will find the stuff that you want to read yourself.
I'm more of a lame cliche reader. Right now I'm reading Stephen King stuff. But
there's nothing cliche about Stephen King. Stephen King is awesome.
It's really, I'm reading 11/22/63 right now. It's so good, man. Check it out if you get a chance. It's pretty amazing, like the visuals you can get from that too. I think they made a show out of it, but yeah, definitely check it out if you like reading. Good stuff.
Oh, dude, if you want a book that, okay, so if you read a lot of fantasy, you're probably quite used to the hero's journey tropes, which it's very effective storytelling. But if you want just to break your own wheel a little bit, go read 1984. That book will fuck you up. It did me.
I heard about it.
I read that book on the train ride from Montreal to New York, and I set out from Montreal in fairly high spirits. I came to New York a husk of my former self. That was hard to read, like especially the last kind of 100 pages when you start realizing that things are gonna go the way they go. Dear God, that shit sucks, but it's so well written. And like at the end of it, you realize that there is beauty. Like the whole point of Orwell, or the point he was trying to make, was that there's beauty in the struggle rather than in victory. And realizing that, like breaking the sheen of perfection, I like that.
I like that idea.
I think it's interesting.
That's good. Yeah, I've heard about that. I'll definitely check that out for sure. Okay, we'll ask the last question, and then we'll announce the winners for the challenge. I know you didn't judge this one, Betty Yang did, but we'll just go ahead and do it, and maybe I'll get some thoughts from you for the pieces, if you don't mind. Last question from Kim Dowell. He's asking, this is a process question. If you're making a full illustration with new original characters, would you make thumbnails of what you think the full comp should be, then refine details as you go, or concept everything out separately, like characters, location, etc., before tackling?
Depends if I'm going to reuse the characters, really. If I'm planning to do like a series of illustrations with these characters, then I probably will concept them out to begin with, at least sketch them out a little bit, just to try and make the putting them into a space sort of thing easier later on, and then go and do like thumbnails and color sketches and everything. And whether I do color sketches, for example, very much depends on the availability of an original inspiration. If I already know what I want to do color-wise for an illustration, then I probably won't be as then I probably won't focus as much on doing like color sketches. I'll do a variation, for example, on a color theme. But if I have little idea, if I only know the theme that I want for something, but I don't know how best to express that, then I will go and check it out. It's kind of the same thing as with studies. It's about asking questions to yourself or to a client if you're doing it for a professional or if you're doing it for money.
Nice. Good stuff, man. So there you have it, guys. That was all the questions. Hopefully next time we'll probably, I kind of wanted to save some questions and not hit it too hard, just to save more stuff for I think we'll do another interview when you judge.
Yeah.
So again, thanks for the question, guys, and then save questions if you have any more for the next interview, and then we'll do that for next time. All right. So thanks for asking the questions, guys. So we'll go over the winners now. I don't know if you can see them, Evan, but
do you have a link I can click somewhere?
Let me see. I can try to send them to you. Let me see if I can try to send them to you if you want to look at them. Let's see. people are already seeing like all the numbers on them. Like, shit, that sucks.
Oh dear God.
But yeah. By the way, I don't know if you know too much about the draw or die challenges, but it's pretty much right now we're planning on kickstarting a book next year with all the entries, and then publishing a book with everybody's stuff in there. Kind of like to publish everybody the uh, from beginners to professionals, to have everybody there.
Very cool.
So let me see, paste. Oh, there we go. So I'm sending them to you through Skype right now, just so you can check them out.
Yeah.
It's going so slow.
Oh, this is gonna take the longest. Like 4.
Is it?
Yeah. Do you have like just a website you can link me to?
Yeah. Let me see. Actually, let me see if I can do one at a time. Maybe. Hopefully. See if it's faster. If it's not, I'll just link you, because there's like we have them on the page, but they're like just scattered everywhere. Let's see. Oh, there we go. One at a time.
There we go.
Yay. All right, and
somebody did like a sculpt and stuff.
Yeah. So we'll start from the top, from the very first one I sent you. All right. So announcing our honorable mention, and these were picked by Betty Yang, by the way. She was a judge for last challenge. Fourth place honorable mention was Alexander Lucas, and the challenge was we came up with this story. It's kind of like a fairy tale retelling of a fairy tale in a kind of sci-fi version. So this is Snow White, and she was captured by the 7 dwarves, and she's kind of supposed to be bad. She kind of looks not too bad here, but it's still a nice illustration, I think. So that is our honorable mention. I don't know if you have anything to say about this piece, Evan.
Well, was the intent that she was supposed to be like
evil,
like captive?
Yeah.
And evil.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because it's not really giving me that, you know.
Yeah.
It's a fairly nicely composed illustration, but in terms of bringing that point across, it's not really doing it. I like the juxtaposition of sort of the blues and the purples, but it's sort of like the front of the image, or the foreground, is kind of warm, but then the background shares that same sort of warmth, while the middle ground is sort of bluish. And this kind of pushes and pulls stuff in a weird way, where it's kind of hard to get a proper spatial read on it. So I think that's kind of where it's falling a little bit apart. But the base idea seems pretty strong.
Yep, nice. Yeah, definitely. It's kind of. I think Betty was going more with like aesthetics and like how the piece looked versus the actual brief. So I guess it depends on like the judge. Like I think now we know you're going to be looking at the brief a lot more than the prettiness of it, which is is a good thing. So all right, thanks. That was Alexander Lucas. Good job, man. Love it. And next for third place was Morgane Mulville. She did a 3D sculpt, and I think Betty was just saying that it was really cool that she did a 3D sculpt of it. She appreciated it. So I don't know much about 3D. The only thing I have for this is I think maybe just a cleaner. Like I like how you got it on the table and stuff, but maybe just a better presentation of it would have been cooler. And that's about all I have for 3D. I don't know, Evan. You have anything for 3D?
I will say that the two of them don't really fit together much. I really like the Snow White the Snow White person, the character, and the evocation of like neo-Russian sort of stuff, because it kind of evokes winter and that sort of thing, like especially with the little hat. that stuff's pretty cool. I like the backpack. It's pretty neat. But so in terms of a concept, it works pretty well. Though you could have gone further with the whole Snow White theme, I suppose, and really push that, because it is a little anonymous in terms of being a concept for like a sci-fi-ization of Snow White.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can't really, it just looks like just another character. But yeah, good job on the 3D stuff, and
Yeah,
people are always,
high marks for technique.
yeah, people are always asking, is 3D allowed and stuff. So yeah, definitely do 3D if that's what you want to do. So congrats, Morgan. And now on to this. She was third place, by the way. I'm sorry, guys. I can't count. Yeah, counting is overrated. They're making fun of me in the chat right now because my counting. And now for second place, I'm gonna be adding like sound effects to this, like I did for Alex Negrea. But second place was Matthew Cowdery. He won first place last time, and this guy's phenomenal.
Is that the one with the tree or the one with the
with the tree?
Fancy colors?
With the tree.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah, I love it. I love how you like to push the perspective, man. Like you always do some really like crazy angles and stuff like that. So I love it. Yeah, I think it's a phenomenal piece. Evan, I'll drop it to you. Your
Look, in terms of technique, it's pretty goddamn great. I think the only first of all, you didn't need to detail the background that much, but just because it's kind of drawing the eye away from the central action. Secondly, I probably would have chosen either to have a strong backlight or a strong front light, because the candles are kind of counterproductive when you have the skylight behind. It just seems overly theatrical. But again, it's not really a problem. I think the only problem I have is that if the point was that she's captured and kind of held by the dwarves, then in terms of making an illustration, it would have been helpful to get a sort of a read on who's the evil guy and who's the good guy, because everyone kind of looks like an asshole here, but in the best of ways. They all just look kind of evil. But I do love the design of the dwarves. They're kind of that's not something I expected, so I think they're kind of cool.
Yeah.
And like all of this is to say, like all of this is on top of this being initially a very cool illustration. But these are all just like little things you could have added to make it just that little bit cooler. I like it. Snow White definitely comes across as evil, so that at least is awesome.
Nice. Yeah, I loved it. And now that you're talking like this, student, I know you're a writer. I'll definitely get with you when we make the brief. So if there's any like specific character you want to see for your challenge, like it'd be cool for you to kind of jump in and let me know if there's anything specific. Because typically I just write the brief, I send it to the judge, they look it over and they're like, okay, cool. The judges used to be a big part of the briefs, but now it's kind of like to save time. It's like, here it is. And then they're like, okay, cool. But I think for you, I'll hit you up and see if there's any character, because there's so many damn characters we can do that it'll be a lot more fun, I think, for you. And on to first place, Christian Angel. Christian Angel's phenomenal artist. He's always in the Hangouts too. I think the canvas might still be a little long. I can't tell, but phenomenal piece, man. Like just the colors. He's what's the guy's name you mentioned? Ren Gia.
Ruan Gia.
Yeah, he's a big fan.
There are clear similarities here.
Mm-hmm. He's a big fan.
I will say this is in certain aspects beyond what I can do, so I don't really feel justified to judge it properly, but this is amazing. It's really, really good. I like the fact that like the dwarves have been reduced these harrowing souls sort of in her skirt. So again, she doesn't seem to have been captured by them, so that was kind of the point that's kind of missing, but the whole thing is pretty goddamn cool.
Yeah.
So I will say it doesn't carry over of being Snow White. It's a very cool piece, and it has a lot going for it. The basic narrative of her being like a horrendously evil person capturing people's souls in her ethereal skirts is awesome, but it has nothing to do with Snow White. That's all I will say. That's the only properly negative thing I can say about it.
This piece, yeah, yeah. It's definitely a pretty picture, but it's kind of a little bit not off topic, but it's kind of still stays. But yeah, I definitely see that, and it's pretty. But yeah, you can definitely see the that inspiration. Leisha just woke up. She just wrote me. I had asked Leisha too if she wanted to do the interview. It looks like she just woke up. She just messaged me. But yeah, that was you're like too late. but yeah, that was it. I was gonna go over all the pieces, but it's just like a lot of them, so we'll probably end up going over them whenever we do the interview with Betty when she gets better. And thanks for everybody that participated. We had, I think, over 50 pieces, and then the last one we had like 70 something. And I have a feeling this one's going to be a lot more because all we're drawing is an egg. It's Humpty Dumpty for the next one coming up.
Oh, shit.
So it's like a sci-fi Humpty Dumpty drunk. Yeah. Yeah. So
wow. Okay. If no one makes Humpty Dumpty into an alien egg, I'll be very disappointed.
oh my God, that's a good idea. So yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for doing this. It was a lot of fun. And Evan, thanks man for jumping in last minute. I appreciate it, dude. And I'm looking forward to doing your challenge, dude. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Looking forward to it.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming, and we will go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you,
Cool.
guys. All right. Thank you, Evan. See you guys
Cheerio.
later.